No! No! No!
Horror Pop Extravaganza.
What is up, each and every one of you beautiful souls? We are here for the horror pop extravaganza.
What in the world?
I don't know, dude. I don't know where it comes
I
from.
love
It's
it.
like
I
all of a
love it,
sudden
though.
I have a demon and I'm like, I gotta get it out. And this is the only way to do it.
Gotta sing this motherfucking demon out.
Right. Welcome everyone. This is the Horror Pop Extravaganza, all you beautiful souls. This is your first time. This is where we bring the macabre and the mindful together. We celebrate touch tips. Touch tips. We celebrate a piece of horror cinematic, a piece of what? A piece of the pie, the cinematic pie, the horror pie.
Cinematic history and beauty.
Yes, yes. And there are there
Arr. The
a
pirate
few
episode.
franchises. Before we even get there though, I'm Pops Ghostly, man. We're jumping right into it too quick. Yes, and like I said, this is the horror pop where the macabre meets the mindful. But with me, as always, is my brother in podcasting.
Little Duke Spooky. Ooh.
I just got a chill, a tingle.
I mean, my nipple's hard.
Mine are always hard, especially since my brother ripped one of my nipple rings out once
Oh, God.
in a fight when we were, like 18, I don't know, 17, 18. Yeah, pulled it straight out. There's still, if you look really close, I have small nipples. But if you look really close at the one little small nipple, there's a perfect little line where he just yanked the jewelry straight through the front of it. But we're not here to talk about my nipples. Some people might be like, more nipple, more
Some people
nipple.
might, yeah, be here to talk
No,
about it.
no more nipple talk as of right now, because we're talking about one of my favorite horror flicks of all time, and we'll get into the reasoning why behind some of that. Because on paper and even executed, it's a hard flick to follow. It's the sixth movie in a franchise, which is always a tough place to be. It was 1995. It was a weird time in horror cinema. We hadn't got to Scream yet, which would breathe all the new life into the 90s, which would come in 1996. So you had studios just looking at IPs and being like, okay, what can we make? I want to put this thing out. What do people recognize? you know, what will guarantee get at least a couple bucks out of somebody's pocket? And that is how we landed at Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, originally titled Halloween 666.
Ooh.
Ooh, but yes, this movie, and before we get into all that, this movie was plagued um production, not really production problems, but more higher end production problem, producer level, director level problems, more of that. Not like, oh, it was fucked up trying to make the movie. I'm pretty sure it was a relatively, smooth shoot for the most part. But after the fact, people are like, well, my dick's bigger and my dick's bigger. Well, I'll make a whole new fuck cut of this movie. No, you
Yeah, it
won't.
sounds like
Yes,
there
I
was
will.
some stuff going on with the director for sure.
Yeah, because you ended up, there are two versions. I own two versions of this movie. It's one of the first bootlegs I ever picked up at the state fairgrounds. There was a state, flea market or a big fuck something like that, and this guy had bootleg movies. I thought I was a criminal. I was like, oh, I was like, holy shit, that's the producer's cut of Halloween 6. I only heard about that.
That was
No,
when life was better, dude. When
dude,
like
it was
you could go to like a flea market and find some gold and treasure, and you're like, dude, I have a version of this movie that no one else has, and it
right.
wasn't the internet where you could get everything.
And it was just a printed off, VHS kind of cover, said producer's cut on it. And I watched it, and it is, I mean, a radically different movie in a lot of ways.
Really?
I think both of them have their merit, but it's still, I think both suffer because of the editing and the stuff like that took on after the fact, when it's like, oh, a new producer's coming on after all primary's been done. And he's like, nope, we're going to fuck reshoot a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
And
That's
then,
crazy.
the editor's like, ah, gotta hodgepodge this. Like, okay, I got 4 pieces from that puzzle. I got 5 from that one. Let's see the best thing that I could possibly come up with.
That's what I felt like this movie was, dude. Like the guy in the editing room has like no copy of the script, and he's trying to figure out how these things fit together.
Right. He's just like, okay, man, and we'll get into more of that. But before we get there, why don't you, because this will be a longer one for me if I'm not careful. So why
That's
don't
what
you
she said.
why don't you jump into the Internet Movie Database and let us know what who is in this thing, who directed it, and what does IMDb think that Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers is actually about?
Yeah, here we go. So this one is directed by Joe Chappelle. And you still got those writers. They fooled me once before with the Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. They label them as writers on IMDb, and they had not a fucking thing to do with this.
No, and I don't know if that's just the characters, they get the credit. Maybe they had it in their contract, like, yo, if you keep using Michael Myers, we want a fucking writing credit because we're gonna get paid residuals on that shit.
Right,
Right.
right.
No matter what.
Now, in these films, a lot of times you'll see people and you'll be like, oh, holy shit, that was so and so before they were big. Very rarely do you get a fucking A-list actor in one of these things. And here we go. So, everybody knows Donald Pleasance,
Yes, dude.
huge part of this franchise. Pretty much like
His
he
last
was such a
on-screen
big get.
performance. His last
So
on-screen
sad that this
performance.
was his last on-screen performance, but you can see through this whole thing, he was fucking sick.
He was
Like,
definitely aged, but he still showed up. I love the way that
oh,
he
he's
showed
still
that
doing
kid.
it. Yeah.
But he was, and they even I'd seen in one of the behind the scenes some of the or a commentary, the director and a couple people talking about it, and they said they I think wrote it out of the script, even all the burns and shit. He makes that thing about plastic surgery just because they didn't want to have to put him through any kind of makeup, make this as easy for Donald as possible because
Right.
he is an older dude at this point. But I like seeing him in that old kind of retired Van Helsing. Like everything's in this manuscript and shit. Like I like being out in the country away from all that chaos.
Yeah, yeah, that was good. And Donald Pleasance, like he brought gravitas to the series. I think he was like, the Alec Guinness being in Star Wars, like it elevated the material, and then he
Right.
continued to do it through the years, although he was like, this is beneath me.
Right.
Uh,
Huh.
speaking of, A-list talent, Paul motherfucking Rudd, Ant-Man himself,
Ant-Man, dude.
is in
Ant-Man
this
is in
movie.
Halloween 6. Like introducing Paul Rudd and shit. Like maybe he had a couple, small little bit parts here and there, but for the most part, as far as I know, this was his first big kind of leading role.
Right. And he's trying it so hard, dude. He's
And
trying to be so serious.
I think that's what carries a lot of this is just the Paul Rudd charm. If you
Right.
didn't have that Paul Rudd charm in there, it'd be really hard to because you're right. He's reaching, he's going there, he's like, "Hey, where's the baby and shit, and he's playing this crazy guy. But yeah, Paul Rudd, dude, always a treasure.
Marianne Hagen was in this, and she played Kara Strode.
Yes.
Now, I could not keep tabs on who was a Strode and who was a Myers and who was living where and why. So maybe you
I'll
can
help you out with
shed
all
some
that.
light on
I'll help
that.
you out
Yeah.
with all that.
Mitchell Bryan, the bad guy from Lethal Weapon, played Dr. Wynn in this movie, trying to bring Donald Pleasance out of retirement.
Right. And we'll get there. Keep going, please.
Kim Darby played Deborah Strode. I can't remember what I've seen this lady in, but she seems like she was in all those like 80s screwball comedies,
Right.
and she was like
I like her
always like
though
the
in this.
teacher or the principal
Yeah.
or something.
Right. But I do like her in this. Or yeah, the church choir lady or some shit.
Yeah. Let's see who else was in this. JC Brandy played Jamie Lloyd, which
Okay.
I guess was a big to do about that because of the
Right.
casting
Okay.
change, and I can understand why.
Right.
And then George P. Wilbur played the Shape in this.
Right. Who just passed a couple years ago.
Did he?
3 years ago, yeah. He's a traditional, stunt man type bring on, throw him in the mask and let him
Well,
fucking
I guess there were two, and they say that like it's very obvious when it's not. It's
sometimes
one
you can
guy.
see the size, yeah, the
Yeah.
actual size difference.
All right. Are you ready to hear what IMDb has to say about this thing?
I am so ready to hear this.
It's kind of long. All right, here we
Okay,
go.
that's what she said.
That shouldn't make me laugh so hard. 6 years after Michael Myers last terrorized Haddonfield, he returns in pursuit of his niece, Jamie Lloyd, who has escaped with her newborn child, for which Michael and a mysterious cult have serious plans.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting enough, I guess. Um,
Did that happen in
this
this movie? I don't.
so kind of, but you need excuse me. Air's getting dry here in Michigan. I've been coughing a lot more. Probably weed probably doesn't help, but so this picks up 6 years after the events of Halloween 5. And at the end of Halloween 5, we see this shadow organization come take Jamie and break Michael out of the jail. Like he gets taken, he's locked up, he's in a thing, they fucking dynamite the wall up. I mean, it's smoke everywhere. And we see these hat wearing shadow figures take Michael and take Jamie. So this is 6 years after that stuff. It starts off really weird,
Yeah, it does.
but it has one of my favorite moments right at the beginning. And I will say that this whole Curse of Thorn thing was around since the beginning. You know,
Really?
they expanded upon it in some wild ways. They're doing some different things. But this is really the Jamie Lloyd trilogy, the end of the Jamie Lloyd trilogy, who was supposed to be Laurie Strode's daughter. Okay.
Okay.
All
So
right.
in the new ones, is she a character in the new ones?
No, because they disregarded everything after the first movie. So we
Okay.
never even met Jamie. We never knew the idea that Lori, had had a kid and shit. And we had already had H2O where you get them at the college and she had Josh Hartnett. And it's like, oh, so she took care of this kid, but just fucking abandoned the other. You know what I mean? It was like,
Right, right.
I guess they had to contend with that and work with that. But in this instance, she is supposed to be Laurie Strode's daughter. So this is the bloodline that they talked about in part one. And then in part two, well, I guess introduced in part two, like that girl, Jamie Lloyd, she was Michael Myers' sister. Turn this car around. What do you want? A warning shot? Skirt. Take me to the hospital. Loomis doing his thing. And so that lore became more established. So this is the bloodline, but it opens up in a underground candlelit temple ritual looking place with a woman laying, who we soon learn is Jamie Lloyd, laying on this stone altar looking thing, and this blonde nurse type character comes up and she's like, take your baby and shit, let go. And she's like, you gotta fuck go. I love this scene in this movie when Michael takes this nurse out because he just picks her up by the neck and the music cues right at it's just a good cue. And really quick, before we go any further, I want to tell you why this movie is so important to me.
Okay.
This movie, I had been fishing with my brother and my friend, and I almost cut my heel off. I stepped on something in the water and it needed like 100 and some odd stitches and shit, like 150 stitches inside and out, reconnecting meat and doing all of
Gee,
that. It was brutal.
you don't even know what you stepped on?
I'm assuming it was like a tin can lid that was up. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
dude.
just went, yeah, straight down on it. That's a story for another time, though. But I know shortly thereafter, my dad was working in town, and he used to always come hang out and shit, and pick me up and take me to dinner or something whenever he'd be working in town, if I wasn't up there staying with him. And he took me to Mammoth Video this time he was in town, and I got my first "you're allowed to rent rated R movies" card. Approved, parent approved movie card. This is '95, so I was maybe 13, 12 or 13, somewhere right in there. Get my first official card, and this was one of the first movies that I rented. And I picked it up, go out to my mom's house, the house she still lives in, way back in the woods, dude. I'm talking, a fucking quarter, almost half a mile back into the woods. There's nothing but trees around. And it's just thunderstorming. And I'm 13, and I just planted my ass right in front of the TV, threw this bitch in the VCR, and was just like sucked in. It was just everything. And the environment around me, it was like there was this rite of passage, I think, thing going on with my dad getting me my fucking official big kid card, and
Yeah.
then the storm at the same time, and just being isolated in some of these places. And the fact that even before this, Halloween had been my favorite of the horror franchises, and I didn't get to see this in the theater, so this was the first time I got to see it, and I was just all worked up, and I still get all worked up when I watch this movie. So anyway, let's go back to the movie. The setup with the nurse, he picks her up right by the fucking neck, and we get the dee 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 dee, and just sticks her on this spike that's on the wall, just her head, and her legs are twitching, and she's kind of doing this thing, and Michael just does that traditional, head tilt, like, okay, we're kicking it right off, like we're getting.
Yeah.
There's a chase. Jamie gets out. She takes off. Michael is in pursuit.
They have a
She's
crazy stairwell that comes up through a dumpster.
yeah, and she kind of no, I think it was more like a firewood type double doors. I don't think it
Oh, is
was
that
a
what that was?
dumpster.
It
Yeah, I
looked
don't
like
think
it
it
was
was a
straight
dumpster.
out of like waste
It might
management.
have been though, because this place is very super secret Illuminati type shit going on. There's the Curse of Thorn shit all over the walls, and she gets a truck and she's driving, fucking hurting, and then all of a
She
sudden
runs really fast and hard for someone who just popped a
just gave
baby out.
birth. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
adrenaline though, maybe adrenaline
yeah,
because
maybe.
and this is where a lot of the debate in the two versions of the script come from is like, was that Michael's baby? Is this incestuous? Is he having sex with his niece in order to
Michael
impregnate
doesn't have
her?
sex. I don't even know if Michael has a wiener.
Listen, in the very first novelization of the first movie, which I have read, it talks about him like standing there with a boner for a little while, like watching the kids do it, like,
Ew.
ah.
That's the part I don't like. Let's not like delve into those parts. Like it's too much.
Yeah.
Like when you realize that Freddy's a child molester, you're like,
Freddy's really bad
"Ugh."
when you see like the small kids that he's killed and everybody's like,
Yeah.
come to Freddy.
Yeah. He
Like,
dressed up like him and shit.
right. So she's in the truck, and then there's this van behind her that clicks its headlights on, starts smashing her all over the place. She ends up at a train station that's shut down for the night. Super creepy. There are some great shots in this, some really kind of Hitchcocky and shit going on
I feel like they blew their whole load and budget in the beginning of this movie.
in the train station.
Yeah. Because
And
this is the
they're
best
so
looking
they're
stuff.
in the producer's cut. She doesn't die right here. She's at the
Oh.
hospital. They end up coming to kill her later on in the movie, like way later on in the movie. Somebody shows up and like puts a pillow over her head and like, pew, pew, and it's a lot more of the kind of nefarious shadow organization shit. But in the train station, she's running from Michael. We got lights going off everywhere. She's hiding in one of the bathrooms, and she had hid the baby. We don't know that, but she hid the baby. She takes off out the window. Michael finds a paper towel roll that's got, or swaddled paper towel roll, and he's like, "Oh fuck, this ain't a baby!" Ah.
Ah,
He
not a
starts
baby.
he starts burping it. He's like, I don't know what to do with the towel roll. No, she takes off. They get her off the road, and we end up at this farm scene where Michael confronts Jamie next to this super old, just tuberculosis ridden, maybe not tuberculosis, but what's the one you get from rusty nails and shit? Um, Tetanus.
Lockjaw.
Tetanus. So we get this showdown in the barn, and he grabs her and shoves her on this piece of equipment, and she's like, "You can't have the baby, Michael."
He's
Yeah.
full on like Dolph Lundgren's her dude
And
from
then
the
he
Universal
pushes
Soldier.
her. Yeah, just
And then he doesn't even quit
you
there. Then he
hear
turns it
me.
on.
Yes. So Jamie's dead, but not before she had tried to call. She calls Barry Sims' radio show, and this dude's a shock jock. Really a piece of shit in so many
A
ways.
full piece of shit.
Dude, he's a turd, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, yeah. I heard they tried to get Howard Stern for this part and he turned it down.
I could see
Probably
why.
probably a
Well,
good
he was
crew,
doing, I mean, like Private Parts was like 93 to 90, somewhere 95, somewhere right in there.
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
for
do your
sure.
Halloween thing. No, can't do. But she calls in. She's like, "Is anybody out there? He's coming. It's Michael. Dr. Loomis, Dr. Loomis, can you hear me?" And he hears it on the radio. And that's when we first see Loomis. And he's typing away. He's in this. I want to live in this place, dude. There's a huge hearth, fire roaring, emanating heat out into the room as he types away at his manuscript. And Wynn shows up. the doctor from Smith's Grove, and he's like, "We want you to come back, Sam." And he's like, "Oh, it's not wise to play Halloween tricks on me." He's like, "It's no trick, Sam. We need you. We need you to come back to Haddonfield." And he's like, "No, I buried the ghosts of the past. They're all in this manuscript and shit." And dude even said, like, "What a night. Not so much as a road sign out there." He's like, "Ah, the beauty of the countryside. I thrive on it." But he is really end of life now, putting all of this behind him. He's done with Michael Myers. But maybe when, maybe it was even when Wim was there, when they hear it on the radio together, like, Dr. Loomis, are you out there? It's me, it's Jamie. So now all the cards are on the table. We jump to the relatives of the Strodes who now live in the Myers house, but the only one that knows is the piece of shit dad.
He is a piece of shit, dude.
He's like two rungs below Rodney Dangerfield in Natural Born Killers.
Totally, totally. And I think if we had an extended cut, it might be as bad or worse.
It's not. It's not. But he does play this character that you're like, this dude could die and it doesn't even really fucking matter. But he's fun.
He full on slaps a girl at breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After he tells, so let's set this up. Everybody's at breakfast, dad, mom, brother, and then Kara and her son, Danny. They get into a argument. She had come back after 5 years. She was gone. He's like, "You show up with this little bastard of yours."
Right in front of him.
And she stands up. She's like, "I see only one bastard in this house." And you're right. He gets up and fucking slap. And even the son's like, "Lay off her, dad." And he's like, "You shut up."
You want some next, boy?
Yeah. Well, it's because the mama was giving her a little bit of money on the side. And he's like, "That's it, Deborah. Just keep giving her all of our fucking cash. You just keep slipping it under the table." This dude really is bad. And they end up all looking down, and Danny's standing there with a knife poked right at Granddad's belly, big fat Homer Simpson belly, fucking ready to stab this dude. And she's like, "Give me the knife, Danny. Oh no." They all get outside. Danny's got to get off to school. We meet Kira's brother's girlfriend, who becomes a pretty big role in all of this too. She's like, "Oh shit, what happened?" She's like, "Just another day Father's knows best at the Strode house." And he was already all pissed off because people kept putting Michael Myers shit all in front of his house. He's just like, "Enough of this, Michael." And I'm like, it's a fucking like plywood one by piece, and he needs an axe to cut it down. I'm like, you could just pull it out of the ground. They look like 8-year-olds running away. They weren't, in their fucking dad's workshop. Like, it's barely together, I promise you. It's probably with a string. You could fart next to it and it'd fall apart. But he's already all worked up, and they're on their way. She maybe forgot a paper or a book. All her shit falls out. We see some gnarly pictures that Danny's been drawing with these black hooded figures. It's the Shadow Man, mommy. He's coming. And I think we even see him pretty quick where he's like, "Kill for him, Danny," in the corner of his room. He wakes up like, "Ah, it's fucking Nightmare Man." And I've seen this kid, I feel like, in some other shit around this same time too. Played a young, young actor. Anyway, they see these fucked up pictures, and then they're like, "We got to bring some life back into this town." Billy Sims is coming, and he's bringing the shows. First time we've had Halloween in 6 years because that dude murdered all these people, and it's just in poor taste. I mean, not as in poor taste of VHS Halloween when they were like, "Yo, 8 kids went missing in 2 weeks. We're still having a little Halloween celebration." The more I think about that segment, the more I'm like, it just doesn't fucking add. But they're gonna have this big Halloween thing in the town squares, something like that. And the brother and the girlfriend are kind of organizing this thing and making this thing happen. Meanwhile, Paul Rudd, Tommy Doyle from Halloween 1, so this is the kid that Jamie Lee Curtis was babysitting. So when she gets the little kids and she's like, "Tommy, open the door, Tommy," and throws the pot and shit at the window, this is him, supposed to be this character who we would see played in Halloween Kills. He would be brought back but played by a different actor and shit like that, and brought back in a different way. It wasn't this right here. And the one girl even asked him, like, "Hey, what's up with the dude across the street?" And she's like, "Oh, yo, Tommy, on a scale of fucking weird, 1 to 10, he's a 13, bro. He's out there. Supposedly some pretty crazy shit happened to him when he was a kid. I don't know. Miss Blankenship lives over there too, and she don't hear shit. She's a little old lady that just hangs out and lives in the living room. But Tommy is playing back the audio from the broadcast the night before, and he hears a little clip like "bus coming from da 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 da," and so he goes, detective work, goes into the train station. He's like, "Hey, was there a bus that came from Saginaw?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, Michigan, Saginaw." Like, is there a bus come from Saginaw? Yeah, there was. He does a little bit of investigating, and there's been looking like there've been a lot of people at the train station, but he's the first one that finds the baby.
He's the only one that thinks a big old pile of blood on the floor is weird at the train station. And then he fucking follows it. And I was just like, there's that much blood.
Right.
And then he just finds a baby in the toilet, dude. And I was
It's
just
not in the
like,
fucking toilet. It's under the cabinet. It's wrapped
well,
up.
in the
There's a
toilet
body
room.
in the bathroom. But when you say he found a baby in the toilet, most people, I think, are going to assume you're talking about there's a baby in the shitter. Like,
The
actually,
baby might as well have been in the shitter because what was this chick's end plan? She knew she wasn't going to get away from Michael Myers. She knew he was going to figure out that
I think she just wanted to protect the baby. She was trying to
by
draw
leaving him in a
Michael away
fucking train station
by
bathroom.
drawing the crazy people away from the baby.
No, the
Yes,
crazy people are
100%.
in the train station bathroom. Those are the ones that you have to worry about way more than Michael.
Baby.
And then Paul Rudd finds it. He's a weirdo on the level of 13. And he fucking is like, oh, hey, this is my new baby. And takes it home. Like, what's he going to do with it?
Doesn't
Fucking
take it home
breastfeed
at first. He takes it to the hospital. Wouldn't that be great if he did? He was like, "Come on, baby."
it? Hey, baby, you must be hungry. You've
Right.
been in the toilet all night. Here.
But no, he takes it to the hospital, and he's really aggressive with the hospital staff.
Yeah. He's like, you take this baby.
Right. He's like, "I need a doctor. I think my baby's sick." And she's like, "What seems to be the problem?" He's, "Give me a doctor now!" And screaming.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Tick, tick, tick, security." And then as he's going by, that's where they run into Dr. Loomis because it has been discovered that Jamie Lloyd's body's been found. And her body, we learn, had just given birth. So that's where now everybody kind of knows
Yeah.
this baby is
They were
her
like,
baby.
there's placenta fluid on the blood. In
Right.
95, they didn't even have DNA, dude. They didn't know.
Stop. They didn't have DNA.
They didn't have
95. They had
DNA.
fucking DNA. But he walks by on his way out. He's carrying the baby, and he's like, "Dr. Loomis?" And he's like, "Do I know you?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's me, Tommy Doyle. You remember Laurie Strode that night? I was Tommy Doyle. I do know." Da, 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 da. And he's like, "Listen, Dr. Loomis, Jamie wasn't the last of Michael's bloodline. There was another. Wait, what?" And he's like, "Meet me at the campus rally tonight, 9 o'clock, or sometime around then, maybe 9:15, depending on when you can snag an Uber." And he, he's then takes off with the baby because security's now following him around. Loomis, very concerned, of course, about Michael. And then, so he takes it upon himself to call Deborah, this is Kara's mother, while she's at home doing laundry and stuff. You hear it going on in the basement. And she gets a phone call and she's like, Hello? And he's like, "Oh, who is this?" "This is Dr. Loomis." She's like, "What? Doctor Who?" And she's like, "No, not Doctor Who, Dr. Loomis." And he gets tells her the story that this is the Myers house, where you are. This is where his rage comes from. This is where it stems from. And she's like, "Fuck." So hangs up, or maybe he came over. Maybe he didn't call her on the phone. I don't know. No, I think he did come over. And then she gets a phone call that's like, "We want the child." But not before she called her husband. It's like, "John, you knew. You knew that's why we got this house so cheap. Your brother could never sell it because of what happened here. You knew." And he's like, "Fucking shit." Opens his drawer and starts pounding booze like everybody did in 85 to 95. They had
Yeah.
it in their desk drawer, and he's just like, "Well, fuck." She's like, "I'm leaving, John. I'm getting the kids and I'm going." And that great shot of Michael in the background behind her as she's on the phone, all panicky. Again, reminding me of Hitchcock in a lot of ways for some reason, rewatching it this time in the bathtub this morning. But and it's not one I would need to rewatch. It's one I could tell this tale by campfire with no prior knowledge for many, many years. Um, And we get this cat and mouse with her and Michael Myers, which is super cool. Great death scene in the backyard where she's running in her laundry and getting trapped in this, just can't get out. She pulls one down and looks up, and he's standing there with that axe and just right off her head. Gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
off of their head.
And somewhere around here, the sister, or not the sister, the brother and the girlfriend are getting ready to go to the campus rally. Kira has met Tommy through Danny. He went up there and he's like, Tommy's my new best friend. He knows everything about dinosaurs. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing with my kid, weirdo? And he's like, oh, no, I got to tell you this. And they all go to his house and start having old school computer shit going on, like screensaver.
And meanwhile, the baby is laying calmly, comfortably, and not making a peep on the bed.
No, at one point the baby's crying because he can't get the baby to shut up. And she's like, all it takes is a mother's touch. He's like, I think I'll name you Steven.
Yeah, you're not allowed to just take a baby and name him Steven, dude.
If you're Paul Rudd, you can.
That is
I bet
against the
you
law. I'm
100%.
sure it is.
I bet you 100% if you're Paul Rudd, you can take a baby, somebody's baby. Be like,
Now,
"Steven."
yeah,
Like,
but
name
back
him
then,
Steven. Right. And Miss Blankenship starts telling the tales of, Halloween being this gateway to the other dimension. When the veil is the thinnest, she's telling Danny about all this stuff. As Paul Rudd's walking slow motion through the campus rally, it looks really good. We meet Billy Sims. This dude is total turd. He's just like, hello, Haddonfield, and opens his like fucking peep show or flasher jacket, and he's got just his boxers on. He's like, it's me, da 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 da, Billy Sims. And he's even talking to old boy on the stage about his girl, and he's like, I bet she wears crotchless panties and barks like a dog. He's
right?
like, yeah, and she's like, well, we're supposed to hand out candy, and he's like, relax your crack, sweetheart. It's gonna be like this dude really is just terrible. Everybody's having a good time at the festival, and then they learn that at what's his face's house, at the Strode house, she's like, Tim's family lives in the old Myers house, and he's like, what? You're telling me that your family lives in the house? So that, and he's like, oh yeah, good wood. Because he has no idea. He doesn't know that it was the Myers house. Which it's only been 6 years.
Right, yeah.
I
How
think
would you not
somebody
know
at
that?
school wasn't, bruh. I was a little kid, and I remember this white faced motherfucker running around just killing everybody.
Yeah, dude. He was
He was
like, you looked at your fucking pattern to your carpet, dude. It is totally red everywhere.
drenched in blood everywhere. Regular blood, Michael's blood, other people blood, period
Pig's
blood,
blood, period
everything.
blood.
Yes,
Exactly, dude.
everything blood. So he's like, we got to take this show on the road, and we got to go to the Myers house, but not before Billy goes to the van, and he's like, oh, these fucking podunk motherfuckers, I'll have them eating out of my hand in any second. We're taking this, what we should have done to begin with. He's like, where's the fucking van? And then he gets in the van, and Michael gets him, from behind, stabs him, bam, right in the thing. Because he even asked him, how far away is your house, kid? He's like, I don't know, about half a mile, not long, 5 to 7 minutes. 6 to 7 minutes. 6, 7. The he takes the knife, and then there's this little girl dancing around under this tree, and she's like, Mommy, it's raining.
Weird.
It's raining. It's raining red. Warm. And then here comes Billy Sims out of the tree, all wrapped up in Halloween lights, like, oh. So now he's dead. Meanwhile, Tim and his girlfriend go back to their house, Tim's house, in order to get ready for them to be there. Now, they said 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, but they were like, let's have a little tomfoolery in between
Meanwhile,
that 5 to 7
so
minutes.
first she starts telling him the story. She's like, he crept up the fucking stairs, and then he's like,
And he's
"Cut it
like,
out, Bev.
stop it! Stop it, Bev!
Knock it off." And she's like, sorry. You just want to fool around real quick?
Yeah,
He's
she's like, you make me so horny because you're such a little worm about how people got killed in your house, you pussy.
And she was all turned on about doing it in his sister's bed. She's like, it'll be even dirtier in your sister's bed.
That was weird too, the whole sister's bed thing. But I get it. This chick was dressed like Mrs. Frankenstein. She was pretty hot.
Bride of Frankenstein, not Mrs.
Mrs.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
He's
And she was
an asshole.
But she had that thing going. I had like Rogue, any girl with like a fucking white piece in her hair. It's just gonna do it for me.
It's working. And he's the Frankenstein monster. And so they
The
decide to
world's
change real
worst
quick.
Frankenstein monster. He just darkened his eyes and put bolts on his neck.
I mean, he didn't even know he lived in the Myers house.
He's a bitch, dude. He's just the biggest bitch. And then he pulls the biggest bitch move, dude. Right after he gets done having sex, he's like, I'm gonna go get in the shower and get my stank off.
He's like,
Any
no,
dude who
yes, I
immediately
gotta
after
freshen up.
intercourse, yeah,
Yeah.
he's got to freshen up. Like if a chick is like, "Hey, I got to freshen up," you're like, "Totally, dude. There's so much volume in your cooch right now." But like for a dude, that's like if he's like, "I'm gonna go shut," that is a red flag, ladies.
Now, what if we just didn't know and she was on her period? And
Dude,
he didn't want the bears to come and eat Billy Sims when he came to the house to do,
that's the thing, dude. They can smell the menstruation.
right. But no, he does. He goes to take a shower and she's just all like, fucking doing whatever around the room. And meanwhile, Kara's across the street and she's got Paul Rudd, Tommy's camera, which he's been watching the house. And, they think
I
he's
don't think he's been watching the house, dude. I think he's been watching her brother fuck.
That's the first time they fucked in her room. He watched her a little bit at the beginning. That's how he saw her. But he's
Also,
watching
was
the
in the little
Myers
girl's
house.
room. That's even grosser.
No, it wasn't the little girl's room. It was Kara's room.
Who's
Kara, the
Kara?
adult woman who's going to college with the
Oh,
son.
right. She was naked in there too, and he was looking at her. She comes to the window early on, and she's looking across, and he's just standing there like a creep.
Right,
And
but
she's
you got
like,
to also understand there's a scar so deep on this man's brain that he hasn't dealt with yet that he doesn't even see naked flesh. He's just like, where's Michael?
no, because he wouldn't have a camera set up, dude. He didn't have even he had a camera so that he could take photos. Yuck.
But in case Michael showed up, he could be like, yo, there's Michael. It's not like he was saying, listen, when she went up to his
Take a
room,
movie
there
shot.
wasn't a bunch of pictures of her everywhere, all over the place. It was
He
pictures of
didn't put
Michael.
him on the wall. He kept him under the bed like every normal psycho.
Every
That's where I have
normal
all
psycho.
my freaking nudes. Actually, I have always been jealous because I've never had a window across from a neighbor that would get naked in the room, like in the window.
If we ever become neighbors, I will 100% get naked in my window for you so you can take pictures. I'll stand there nude and drink my coffee and just be like, and then start posing a little bit. Or look over my shoulder. Okay, back to the movie. Back to the movie. So Billy's dead. We learned a lot of the Michael Myers lore. Dr. Loomis is showing up with Paul Rudd to try to get to the bottom of some of this shit. And he's like, who else knew about fucking, the baby? Somebody else had to know. And he's like, no one knew except. And then he's like, careful with the girl. And we see these robe figures come in. And Kira's like, ow! She screams all gnarly, goes and finds, they can't find the baby. Miss Blankenship's got the baby with a knife, and she's like, hello, dear. Ah! And she, everything's going bad. But I don't think, maybe that's not before we get her saving Danny. She sees Danny go across the street into the Myers house, and she
What was
has,
that, dude?
because
That
we're
kid just
supposed to
walked
believe
into a
he's
dark, scary
drawn.
house.
The Curse of Thorn, the whole idea is that every once and so often, one kid is like selected from a generation to inflict all this pain upon the world to save the thousands. The one kills the few to save. It appeases some ancient fucking druid star.
Oh, okay. So like Cabin in the Woods.
Kind of, yes,
All right.
something kind of similar, but I don't know if it's those big like
So wait, Mikey is a good guy. He's saving the world by murdering kids
with a
to
boner.
with a boner to appease these gods that are going to destroy the world. Is that what you're telling me right now?
The lore is convoluted.
The- to say the fucking least, bro. Yeah.
So we do get a great sequence in the house though, with her and Mikey, and then her having to step over his body to try and save her kid and stuff like that. Really good. They wake up Loomis and Tommy and Kara. Loomis is like, I know where he wants to play this game. Like, I know where we're going. We're going to Smith's Grove. That's where this whole thing has to go down. We get to Smith's Grove. Loomis is like, I gotta go find Win and shit like that. And he finds him in his office and he's like, you monster. And he's like, Michael is a limited power. Unlimited power. But he's got this thing, and we get more into the whole cult aspect of it because there's people in robes everywhere. And Dr. Wynn's like, oh, it's okay. Take them off. Halloween's over. Blah, blah, blah. And it becomes much more medical, sci fi type stuff. We've got fetuses in green liquids. Eee, eee, all over the place.
Yeah, I
It's
was like, are they
crazy.
trying to grow a new Michael? What is going
And
on?
that's the thing is they're trying to like transfer the Michael, I guess, like transfer the Michael evil into the new vessel, which
So he has
is
to
Danny.
start all over and grow up.
I don't know, dude. That's probably why they changed it after the end of this movie, and it has a couple different things going on because the ending is very different. This whole hospital sequence is very different, and I didn't want to bring up all those differences right now because that's not the purpose of this podcast. The purpose of this one is talk about the movie you can find. If you do enjoy the movie you find, then you can explore further with that producer's cut. Now it's a lot easier to find. It's not super rare or anything. You can get your hands on it. It even came with when the first 4K or the first Blu-ray set I got came with both versions on the Halloween 6 disc, which I thought was really cool. Loomis gets to win. He's like, "You're a madman," but right before he can shoot him, he gets hit in the back of the head. Be careful with Dr. Loomis. We're gonna need him. Paul Rudd's wandering around. Or no, Kara wasn't there at first because she's locked up in a cell. Paul Rudd's trying to go find her. And we see this chick that got stabbed and she just falls out of the wall like, brother, he's come home and he's angry. How does it feel to be damned? And this is one of my favorite parts of the movie because Paul Rudd just looks at her and he's like, shit. And then,
That was. I was like, oh, poor Paul Rudd,
yeah.
dude. That was one of
And,
the
and
scenes
we
where
have
people the
this
director give
super
nothing.
right, right. But we have this super red lit corridor, barred doors, maximum security type facility where nothing's locked. And he even kind of laughs about it. The door says maximum security and opens it right up. He sees this. Michael's on the loose in the corridors. He finds Kara's jail cell thing and starts fucking beating on it with a fire hydrant. And then we get this like guitar intro to the shape thing. It's like, and he's like, huh, huh. Or no, it wasn't that one. It was probably like dun, 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 dun. And Paul Rudd looks at him and Michael looks at him and he's like, huh, yeah. And he's like staring at him while he's hitting the thing at the same time. They get out, barely get out of there, grab like a gun, flare gun. They blast Michael in the shoulder through a door. And then we come apart on the actual laboratory. We look through the windows. We see Dr. Wynn and everybody getting ready for this big procedure, whatever this thing is going to be. And this shit is very different in the other one. However, in this version, we just kind of get this super fast, stroby blood medical tools killing people. Kara wanted to run in at first, but he's like, shh. Paul Rudd's like, shut the fuck up. Wait, he's right there. And we see him walk in and pick up, what looks like a machete. I've never seen a surgeon who needs that big of a blade, but he's got this big ass knife. And then we just get this stroby blood going everywhere. They get Danny, start running away. Music picks up. There's people behind him. They shut the door on him, and Michael grabs him by the face and just uses it as a battering ram to shove his face straight through the door. Still chasing him down. They all go hide in this big vat, room where they're making the apparently green liquid because Paul Rudd's got like 10 syringes full of this shit.
I
But
was like,
it's
what is that? Is he gonna turn him into a mutant turtle?
oh, dude, don't give me like wet dreams. The scene he comes out and he's like, Michael, like you've won. Here's the fucking baby and shit. And Michael's looking like, huh? And he goes to grab the baby and he pulls back and it's a bunch of these syringes with the green liquid, hits him with that. Michael comes after Danny. Danny's screaming. He's hiding the real baby. Kara starts hitting him with a pipe a little bit. He chokes the shit out of her for a little while. And then Paul Rudd gets the hit, you know, starts landing the blows that matter. And you get this kind of cool scene where he's looking at him after the fact. Like he'd already beat him to a pulp. And he's just sitting there looking down at him, kind of daisy and stuff, and then just commences on to beat him another like 15 to 20 times with this metal pipe. And we just see green splattering. So I don't know if Michael Myers was full of the green, if that was only from the syringes, if he's always green on the inside. I've never seen it in any other movie. When they stab him, he starts leaking green. But in this one, the green comes everywhere, all out of his face. And he throws the fuck pipe down, ting, 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 ting. And we get a final scene where Dr. Loomis is talking to Kira and Tommy and Danny, and they're like, "Come with us, man. Just get the fuck out of here." And he's like, "No, there's something else I got to do." Which in the other version, it's a very different ending right here. But I think because Donald Pleasance had passed away before the release of this or anything, they added that scream where it was supported somewhere else in the movie. He looks down and he's got the curse of thorn on him, like he never got out of it. Like it's somehow now he's attached to this, you know, monster type character because Michael shows up at one point, like can't walk past a certain point. He's trapped. I don't know. It's different. But we just hear this like, nah,
Yeah.
ah, ah. And then
Which I felt like, guess they didn't know how to end it.
they did. It was shuffled around a bit. And then you roll into some sweet, like mid 90s alt rock. Yeah. Be my
Halloween, pot sticks.
yeah.
The curse of Michael Myers. The curse.
So that is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers in a nutshell.
It doesn't fit in a nutshell, but we tried.
Yes. It is one of my favorite masks. I love the mask in this movie.
The mask is great, dude, and the hair kind of sticking all out. And then there's that scene he's walking down the steps in the train station at the beginning, I think. And I was like, that's fucking badass. That's like the fucking grunge version of Michael. I like it.
Here's that 95 version of Michael. And so the mask is super cool. Like I said, for me, I'm very biased for many reasons. You know, it just hit the right time in life. It is fun, I think, for almost anybody to go back and just see that early Paul Rudd performance. Like it's
Oh,
cool
yeah.
to see him in something that's not shiny, that's not big, and it's like, holy shit, dude, it's fucking Paul Rudd. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
Playing this like supposed to be like disturbed character, and he's just like,
Still charming.
fuck this jacket at the fucking Salvation Army.
Right.
I'm a badass.
What?
I'm gonna kill Michael Myers. And like, huh? Why do you think that? Why do you think you can kill Michael Myers?
He did the same thing in the second movie, though, or in the remake as well in 2019. He's like, I'm gonna kill Michael Myers. This one's for Laurie, for everybody else, who that monster, the boogeyman, ever came after. But, yeah. And then Michael just fucks them all up, puts his mask back on, like, you bitches fucked up. Like, we need this awesome climax for the 13th movie. They're like, here's Corey. And that was that. So,
yeah.
Out of 5 curses of Thorn, how many do you give Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers?
Oof, this one is tough, dude, because like
It might be one of the lowest rated in the franchise.
there's some good things in this movie. There's some bad things in this movie, dude. And it's for sure all over the place. Like if you're basing it on a plot, forget about it, dude. You can tell.
If you don't know the movie's lore from the first movie up until this one, yeah, it's really hard to keep a track of like why is all this happening.
I think even if you do know the lore, it's still hard to keep track. Why is all this happening?
I know what's going on.
All right. So I'm gonna give this it gets 2.5 pretty much based on a couple of decent kills. I like seeing that asshole dad get his. He got it hardcore.
Electricity in the basement.
The electricity to the point of explosion.
Yeah.
His head blew up.
After he finds the bloody stuff in the washer, it's like jump, 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 jump.
Yeah, he found his wife's.
He's like, well, she actually did it. She fucking left me. And he's drunk, like hit the trash cans and shit on the way into the driveway. Like all
yeah, his death was pretty good. And then Paul Rudd, just seeing his performance is like, have a couple beers, sit down and watch this movie and just watch Paul Rudd do his thing, dude. And yeah, it's pretty great, but not for the reasons that the movie makers wanted it to be great.
Right, right, right. Yeah. That's fair, dude. I expected you to go like 1.5. I didn't even expect you to give it but that's I'm happy with that. And I'm going with a 10.5 out of 5.
Oh,
Is it no? I'm just but for me, and this is an example, for me personally, this movie is a 5 out of 5. It is
yeah,
100%. And I encourage people to, seek out those movies that are those for them, or to revisit something you remembered as a kid or some shit like that. Whereas for me, I guess I just never let it go. But as a Halloween movie, I would be right around with you, like a 2.5 out of 5 somewhere, just because it is hard if you don't know what the fuck is going on to follow the plot. To who are these people? Who are all
yeah.
these people? Yeah, why is
I've
Michael
never
Myers
seen
being controlled
I've never
around by?
seen 4 or 5, so like I
Yeah.
don't know what the fuck is going on, dude.
And this, if you've seen 4 and 5, this does make sense. It does connect to those two. We've been introduced to the Shadow organization. We don't know exactly who they are, but we know they are a thing that is kind of navigating Michael Myers in one way or another, using him as some form of a puppet. But I've watched the original Halloween like 2 or 3 times already this October, and that one for me will probably always be if and it's just like no matter how many times I watch it, I'm like, it's just I can't imagine what that felt like seeing that shit, in like '78 when it fucking first
Right.
came out, and that shit was all new,
Yeah.
dun, and you just have this scary figure, but it's a little slow. It's a little slow. And I watched Halloween 2 after, which is amazing. Halloween 2 is fun.
Right. This is we should mention this is an anniversary for us. Our very first movie that we did together
Halloween.
was Halloween 2018 in 2018, and it was the first podcast that we ever did together. So happy
Yep.
anniversary, Pops
Happy
Ghostly.
anniversary, dude. Yeah, and it was for the Popcorn Promises, or is it still called
This was talking poop.
Talking Poop? Damn. Yeah, that was old school. I mean, you think about it, 2018 was 8 years ago or 7 years ago. Crazy.
Yeah, dude.
Crazy. Time flies, and we're gonna keep doing it. I do want to take a minute. If you dig on this shit, please like and subscribe. Do those things for us. Just help us grow the show in any way that we can. Hopefully, reach some more people and just keep spreading this message of the macabre and the mindful. And with that said, our next segment of the show, we are going to pause for the living. And this is when we take the time to celebrate, little tricks, tips, anything, acts of kindness, stuff that mindful thinking, whatever it is that we can try out to be cooler individuals to ourselves and to each other. That's what we're doing here. And normally I bring something to the table, some idea or something like that, but today we're turning it over. I'm turning it over to the little Duke Spooky, who will kind of take it away, and talking about some of he shared some with me before we started the show, but just a peaceful demonstration of life and stuff like that. So yeah, dude, pause for the living. And this is something I think a lot of people either participated in or are aware of that took place yesterday. But why don't you lay it on us?
Yeah, yesterday we had No Kings protests all over the country. Just thousands and thousands of people showed up.
Yeah.
And here in Little Spokane, Washington, uh, the Mrs. Duke Spooky was like, "We're fucking going to this thing," and I'm dressing up like the Statue of Liberty, and I'm like, "Amen, sister, let's do it." So I made a great protest sign. It was it had Garth from Wayne's World on it, and it said, "If Trump was an ice cream flavor, he'd be pralines and dick." And
And
the
he had
people
an
that
ice
got
cream
it
cone
loved
with
it.
Trump's head on it.
Yes, the ice cream cone with Trump's head on it. Yeah, it was glorious. There were so many like frog costumes and just people dressed like dinosaurs and unicorns and shit. It was beautiful, but just during this time, I think it's really easy to get discouraged about everything that's going on and the seasonal weather change and everything. People are feeling depressed. They're feeling the pressure. The economy's in the toilet right now. Things are looking bleak, and I understand that. But this No Kings protest was beautiful, man. It was a bunch of beautiful souls going out there talking about, what they believed in and fighting for what they thought was right. And dude, I'm not somebody that like goes and like talks to everybody on the street, you know? Like, I'm just not that way. But dude, everybody, there's such a sense of community, dude. Everybody was there for a common goal, and people were talking and introducing themselves, and like we were learning about people, you know, and it was just really cool. And I was just standing there, and there's a dude sitting there playing guitar, you know, and he's talking to me, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you know, I wanted to come out here and peacefully protest, and how can it not be peaceful when it's just like a dude just playing tunes, you know?"
Yeah.
And he was like, he's like, my fucking hands are cold, man. I might have to give it up pretty soon. And I had somebody had given me a hand warmer because it was cold out there,
Oh,
and one of those little sacks of thing you squish
yeah,
them up, you know, to heat
exactly.
your hands up. Somebody gave me one of those, and I wasn't going to use it, so I fucking gave it to this guitar guy, and he was like, fucking right on, man. You know, and he was just like, just talking to me, and I told him about the podcast and stuff, and he was just like, just a cool conversation with just somebody that I'd never met before, never would have run into if it hadn't have been for this fucking protest that we were all there to do, and it was just
Yeah,
a
they did a big
beautiful
one.
thing.
They did a big one here in Midland. It looked like there was a pretty good turnout. I know a lot of the surrounding areas, there's a really good turnout. And I didn't see a lot of negative, like motherfuckers
Yeah.
are hurting each other and fighting and doing all this
There
stuff.
was none of that, dude. It was just all love, man. All love for everybody. And, you know, based on people's signs, you could tell like their different beliefs, the thing they were most pissed about, you know.
Right, sure.
But it just didn't matter. It was just like it's all of it, you know, and it's all negative stuff that people turned into like a positive moment, you know. We're out here on our Saturday, you know. I'm sure that everybody had things they'd rather be doing, but they showed up for this cause that they really believed in, dude. And people are like, you know, a lot of people are like, well, what good does it do, you know?
Yeah.
Trump's not gonna watch it. He's not gonna even see it probably. His people are gonna be like, yeah, nothing happened yesterday. It was really
But I
slow
think
this day.
you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit though. You said it allowed people to be a part of community and see community in front of them in a world where we often feel siloed and alone. You're able to come
100%.
together and be with another human being. So even if, the president never saw that or anything, I don't think it really matters because the reward was in the connection that was made, the energy that was created and put off into the fucking universe. And I know you took your kids and shit, and you can teach, anger, and you can teach love too. You can, show that there's a peaceful way to do some shit here and there, and that's good. I think it's a great thing.
That was the number one thing that people kept saying to me, was shaking my hand and being like, thank you for bringing your little ones out here and showing them that like this stuff matters
Yeah.
and that this stuff's important and that you're never too young to get involved. Now, if the cops showed up and started gassing people, yeah, I would have got my kids out of there immediately.
Right.
But they were out there with their fucking signs and shit. My son had his
His
ghost
ghost
face
face,
mask
yeah,
on.
his ghost face sign was so dope.
It was so dope, dude. So yeah, and people just like loved the shit. And I saw a lot of other people out there with little kids, you know, but most of them didn't have signs. My kids are out there
So,
like, yeah.
so if anyone listening was a part of the No Kings Day protest, let us know in the comments, man. Like how it
Yeah.
went for you, or throw a picture in there. Let us see you and your family, out there. And like you said, I think that's the important part is we can teach. It's so important for us to teach our kids and not
Yeah.
just teach them about, any one particular thing, but try to make them as well rounded as humanly possible because
And don't let yourself feel alone in this struggle, dude. Like go
right,
out there and get in that community because there's a lot of love out there. I mean, we were talking before the show too. Like, how much has our podcast grown since we opened it up to a community?
right. Yeah.
We've got this like
And
group of people now that are all pushing for us.
right.
And I mean, our numbers are growing, and I mean, that's not even the most important thing. I just want to
No,
get on
it's
here and shoot the
not. It's
shit. But
yeah, it's and I think to me the most important thing about this podcast, and I hope will always remain the most important thing, is that the message remains consistent. It is the macabre and it is the mindful. It is truly inclusive. Like if you want to hang out at the Horror Pop Manor, you can fucking come hang out, dude. There's
yeah,
nothing because we're all a bunch of beautiful souls. We're all a bunch of fucking ghosts out here in the world, and if we just stop, like, especially if you're like, oh, I'm a human being, you're like, I'm not, I'm a kindness ghost. It's like, how do you even respond to that? You know what I mean? It's like, what? It's like, I don't see shit outside of I'm just a fucking ghost floating around trying to be nice to somebody.
yeah,
But yeah, as long as that core message, we got some really exciting shit coming up. Chelsea and Bruce have been making some awesome videos, or Seawolf. I think she goes by Seawolf. That's her gaming tag. Juan is getting ready to come on. We were all just talking earlier today, and you're right. There's a lot of excitement around it. It's not just something passively kind of going by. Like everybody's bringing our brains together. Like, how can we make this better? What can we do? How can we, support the audience and really showcase the audience? Because without somebody listening, we might still do it, but you are the ones who are making this thing really happen and seem like a truly feasible idea. Like, we can take this and grow it into something cool. So they've been doing awesome. They'll be on the show soon. We've got some other things we're working on. Probably not until the beginning of the year, I would guess, is when we're going to start doing some of these changes. I was talking to Seawolf earlier about potentially hopping on if she's set up and ready to go with video and audio and all that stuff, so we can bring her on. Because I'm very excited to have a female voice on the show, because that's a different perspective with horror movies. It's who you identify with in the movies. Like, am I the final girl, or am I the dude that gets killed at the beginning, or am I just here rooting for the killer? So I think it's fun to have different angles to look at these things from and just be like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought about it that way, or that's fucking pretty cool. So a lot of cool stuff coming there. Share the show with a friend if you can, and like I said, like and subscribe if you can. That definitely helps out. Next week we are going back to our regularly scheduled programming. We will be watching Ghoulies, which is just fucking ton of fun. Just a ton of fun. And we have Thanksgiving coming up, and we have already done the episode before, but I do want to encourage everybody to, and I'll ensure that, Bruce knows this one, the Blood Rage episode. If you have yet to see Blood Rage, after Halloween is over, you're like, man, I need some horror to get me through until it's Christmas horror time. Find Blood Rage. It's something that has become just a staple around our house every Thanksgiving, and we did do an episode about it. So even if you don't want to watch the whole movie, you can listen to us chit chat about how it's just not cranberry sauce. It's just not cranberry sauce. And Little Duke Spooky's response to like the weirdest boobs you might ever see.
The weirdest.
Okay, so for the Horror Pop Extravaganza, I have been Pops Ghostly.
I've been Little Duke Spooky.
And we will talk to you next week.
No! No! No!
Horror Pop Extravaganza.